It is great to be joined by the all-time winningest coach in Philadelphia Big Five history, Fran Dunphy. Coach, how you doing with us today?
Doing very well. Thank you, guys. Not a great day weather-wise, but a good day to be on the phone with you and chat about life and its pursuits.
Well, you talk about life. You're more than just a coach. We'll get into your coaching career, but we've been having a lot of the different coaches from the Big Five City Six on talking about the history of coaches versus cancer here in the city. Talked to Coach Martelli a few weeks ago. We figured who else better to bring on other than the current coaches than yourself. You've been doing this for almost 25 years now. Can you talk about how this started, where Coaches versus Cancer in Philadelphia became a thing with these schools?
Well, whatever Phil said, I'm probably going to agree with, but I will give you my thoughts on how it all started, and I hope it parallels what Phil has already said. But it started in 1993 on a national basis, and we discovered through going to a number of events together that we weren't doing anything with this, and we needed to. And so we got together and started a breakfast and led to a golf tournament, which led to a dinner, which led to a lunch, which led to a high school initiative. And so things just kind of took off from there, and it just built slowly, but to a level that we're really proud of, and can't thank all the people that have been involved enough, and to include our corporate community who has gotten behind this charge. And so we built a brand, I think, in Philadelphia that people recognize, and we certainly hope that we have been able to raise a significant amount of dollars, and that we have helped a lot of folks in this charge. And just as a side to that, I can't tell you the number of friends and family that will call us as coaches just because they think we're tied into that we know what we're doing in fighting cancer, which we obviously don't, but we do have connections to those that do. And so we have, somebody might say, well, my dad has colon cancer. Where do I go? What do I do? And when we can put them into, American Cancer Society contact that can help them as they now navigate the waters when you get that horrible diagnosis. You have cancer, and it strikes a lot of fear in people's heart.
Coach, how does it feel to be able to use the platform that you developed coaching to get those calls and be able to help those families find the right doctors to get the treatment that they need?
Yeah, it's really what I think what drives all of us as coaches, that you're trying to put together a team that then can be a well-oiled, efficient group that can do things and do them well. And you establish an organization that people feel confident in, and I think that's hopefully where we are with what we've done. And yeah, it's what drives you. It's you're trying to help others. Life is about them, not about you. It's the more you give, the more you get, and then that's got to be the thought behind every coach, mentor, counselor, what have you. You're just trying to help.
And you said, you're able to raise a little money. You undersell that. You guys have raised $17 million over that in Philadelphia. You're one of the largest, if not the largest, groups that contributes. And in addition to that, there's now facilities like Hope Lodge that exist to help families. Can you talk a little bit about what that means to you, the legacy? I know you're not a person who likes to tout your own work, but the legacy that's left here for families that come into this city because of the work that's been done by yourself and others.
Well, again, I appreciate the praise. It really, and I'm going to give it back to those who have helped so much more than I. And I'm going to say that Martelli has been really the mover and the shaker. I'm going to give him most of that credit. But one of the things like the Hope Lodge, where it is basically a Ronald McDonald House for adults, and you can go there. There's 37 rooms at the house at the Hope Lodge in it, and you can come with your caretaker and really take care of financially. They will take care of. They will take care of your transportation. They will feed you. They will give you emotional support. It's just a phenomenal place. And it's also one of those things where if you ask for dollars, it's something that you can put your arms around. You know what you're giving here, and so it's really been a phenomenal thing. And we had one of our guys, a guy named Frank Miller, who lost his wife to cancer, and then he lost his life to cancer. He was just really dedicated to the cause up there. So if you go up to that Hope Lodge, they've given a lobby to the Coaches versus Cancer program, and we're grateful for that, because it shows that we've worked hard to try to help build it. But this guy, Frank Miller, and his family, have a number of rooms named after them. It's just one of the people that has helped us so much in what we've done. But this Hope Lodge is just a neat place. And I'm not sure how much time you have with me today, but I would tell you a story of a guy by the name of Will Smith, who just changed how I looked at life after, and it had something to do with the Hope Lodge, but I won't tell it unless we got some time.
We got all the time for you.
Okay. So here's what happened to me. I was speaking at a clinic up in New York, a coach's clinic, and at the end of the clinic, this young guy raised his hand. He asked me a question that I'm sure I didn't answer as great as I could, but I tried my best on it. But as I was driving home, I stopped to get gas, and I saw this email from this guy. He said, I was the guy that asked you the question. My name is Will Smith. And he said, I come every other Friday to Philadelphia. I coach high school basketball, girls high school basketball in Western Massachusetts, but I come every other Friday to Philadelphia to get my cancer treatments. Can I come by your practice? Well, right away I get tears in my eyes, and I write him back and say, of course you can. You can come anytime you want. And that following Friday came to Philly, came into my practice, and he's got a bag over his shoulder carrying his chemo. And so I, again, because I'm a sap, I cry at everything. And so I cry as I meet him, and I said, okay, tell me your story here. And he drives every other week, 4.5 hours to Philadelphia, Cancer Treatment Centers of America. And so I said, well, how long does it take? How long does it take? What do you do? What do you eat? Where do you stay? And he said, well, I stay at this, Renaissance hotel. What do you pay? It's like $80 a night. And I said, listen, we have a Hope Lodge up by Fox Chase Cancer Center. We need to help you here. You got to let me help you. I want you to make me feel better. I appreciate where you are, but I need to feel better helping you. And he thought for a second, and he said, well, you know what? I appreciate that. I'll get back to you. And so 2 days later, I get an email that Monday morning saying, Coach Dunphy, thanks so much for thinking of me and presenting that opportunity to stay at the Hope Lodge. My only concern is that I would be taking up a room from somebody else who can't afford it quite like me. So I immediately picked up the phone. I got his phone number, and I said, "Who are you? How can life be filled with people like you? You're fighting this thing like crazy, and you're worried about other folks." And that's just who he was. He just didn't think about himself. He thought about other people. And so he became a great, great friend. And then there's more to the story. They gave me an award that year for coaches, like a Coach of the Year award. And as I got they presented it to me, I started talking and said, listen, I'm going to tell you about the real Coach of the Year. It's Will Smith. And here's his story. And it never is about him. It's always about somebody else. And he lost his life. He got in remission for a little while, and then the cancer came back with a vengeance, and he lost his life. But he's a guy that I think of, and it sounds like an exaggeration, but it's absolutely many, many days during the week I think of this guy, of how he might solve a problem or how he might act toward others. And he's an inspiring figure for me. And so it's those kind of people that I think jump off the page at you. And if you are aware enough and you're thinking enough about others, then you got a chance to make a difference, because there's some just great people out there, and Will Smith is one of them.
Coach, well, Coaches versus Cancer has been around in Philadelphia for about 25 years. It continues to grow with the new generation of coaches. We've talked to coaches Howard, Lang, and Spiker. They all talk about what you and Phil started, and they're continuing it, including taking their own student athletes to Hope Lodge and doing other events. What's it like for you to see the next generation of coaches in the city take from your lead and keep it going?
Yeah, I appreciate the question and how it's framed, and it's awesome, to be honest with you. There's some really good guys in that group, and they're all good guys, and they all want to help, and they all get that that's now part of the charge, that when you come to Philly, or if you were now coming to one of these schools and being the coach, well, yeah, you're supposed to do a good job with coaching your team and making sure that your players are doing well, but you also have to give back a little bit. And here's one way of doing it, and we have started something that has a great hope for the future as well. And so it's heartwarming. And the other part that's really great is that they go there with their teams, and there's something magical happens to those kids when they go there. They help feed the people that are there, the caretaker and the patient. And they engage them in conversation, which when I was their age, I would have had a tough time doing. But they do it, and they understand it, and it's part of their job as well. And so it's really neat to watch. It's neat to watch how they have grown and how they've picked up the mantle here and done a good job, and they will continue to do so.
You're not just a teacher on the court and a teacher in life with some of these off-the-court activities. You're a teacher in the classroom. You've been a full-time educator, 12th year teaching at Temple's Fox School of Business. You taught at the Wharton School of Business. How'd you decide you wanted to be in the classroom teaching, not just on the court? And what does it mean to you to have the opportunity to work with students like that?
Well, it started because of a professor at Penn who was a basketball nut, and he said, I think we could do a good job being in the classroom together. And so we did that at Penn for 7 fall semesters, and I'm in the 14th fall semester now at Temple doing it with Lynn Anderson, who has become a great friend and just I marvel at how her energy is, and a great teacher. And so we do it together. We have, for example, I had Greg Popovich into our class over Zoom the other day, and we've had all sorts of great folks, great people in Philadelphia who have come, and some others that are outside it, like Popovich. So it's fun to listen to the kids and to learn from them. I'm certainly learning from them way more than they're learning from me. It's great stuff, and it's just a lot of fun. And it brings you you can see the vibe on campus when you get out of your office and go across the street and see what these kids are all about. So it's been a blast, to be honest with you.
Coach, we'd be remiss if we didn't ask you about your days coaching at Penn. What was it like to coach in the Palestra?
Yeah, I think there were many nights where I would be the last one out of the gym. The lights were all off, other than a hanging bulb, like you might see in your basement, but hung down there. But I would stop oftentimes at half court on my way out and just pinch myself that I had the key to the front door of the Palestra after having gone there as a young kid and then played there in college and then coached there as an assistant coach, and then finally I got the job at Penn. And a remarkable place. It's hard to explain. You really can't explain the Palestra. And it's hard to explain the Big Five to people who don't really get the Philadelphia model of this. And it's a pretty special thing that we have, very much a part of the fabric of the Philly sports scene. And it's a revered place, and it should be.
It's funny you say that because, you played at LaSalle, you went to Nova, you coached at Temple and Penn. There are a few people that are more Philly, and you said it's hard to explain the Big Five. What is the competition like on the court that then off the court you can still get together? That's what's always amazed us in these interviews is you'll fight like dogs on the court, and then you'll go help people at Hope Lodge after. Can you talk about how Big Five basketball, not necessarily the basketball, it's larger than basketball in this city, it seems like to us?
Well, so Philadelphia, people remark on this all the time, that when you're from Philly, most of the time you stay in Philly. And it's just kind of who we are as a people. And you're right. We try to beat each other's brains out, but once the game's over, we may have a recruiting assignment with everybody the next weekend, and we wind up sitting together at games. People say, you just try to beat the drawers off of each other, and now you're sitting together. Well, that's just the way it is. You come here and you get these jobs, and the reality is that that's what happened in 1955 when it got started. That's how the people treated each other. That's how the other coaches were with each other. They would go out to dinner after they played, things like that. And so while we're maybe not that close, and then we go and we have a charity event, a gala at a downtown hotel, and everybody's there, and we all know the drill. The drill is to raise money and raise awareness and come together as a group and praise one another and just be there for each other. And that's what we try to do. And it's a remarkable thing. It's hard to explain that relationship that you just jump into once you join that Big Five, Philly Six culture.
You do seem to have a special relationship with Coach Martelli, though. As a big fan of cheesesteaks, we hear yourself. Have you gotten the chance to talk to Coach Martelli while he's up in Ann Arbor coaching at Michigan about where he's getting his cheesesteaks? And if he can't find any, are you sending any to him?
Well, no, not going to send him any, but he's a really good friend, and I love him to death, and I miss him. I miss him not being here because he added that energy and enthusiasm to what it is we try to do as people and as coaches. And so life will be okay for Phil. It always will be, because he's got a good heart and he's got a terrific soul. And so he's going to do okay, whatever he does. He's got a great family. And so I'm very proud of him, what he's accomplished, what he's done. And we do talk probably once every 2 weeks, I would say, be the average, and just kind of BS about life and Corona and college basketball and Philadelphia and the Eagles and the Phillies and Sixers, Flyers, whatever we can think of. Mostly about our families and our friends, but all good. All good.
As a Michigan man, Jeff was trying to give him food tips when we interviewed him. So don't worry, Jeff's trying to make sure he finds places to eat. I did want to ask you, there was a story I had heard. It kind of embodied to me your relationship with your players. Deontay Christmas. My dad went to Temple, so I grew up a Temple fan. Even though I went to Rutgers, still watch him a lot and watched a lot of him play. You had a mustache for 40 years, and because of Deontay Christmas, you don't anymore. Can you talk about that story? Because it just seemed to me to embody your commitment to the people that you work with.
Well, when he finished his eligibility, he had one course left to graduate, but he was also trying to be an NBA player, and so that summer he worked his butt off to get to be on an NBA team. He wasn't drafted, but he was a really good college basketball player and a good guy. And so I said to him, listen, I appreciate everything you've done for Temple and for me as a coach. You need to get this degree. You got to do that for yourself, for your family. You need to get this degree. And I know it's only one class, but it's got to be done. So he hemmed and hawed a little bit because of his desire to be an NBA player, and I totally understood. But so he didn't get it that summer. So the next summer he came back, and we talked a little bit, and I said, listen, this can't, you got to do this. This is my fervent wish is that you graduate. And as a matter of fact, if you get this course finished and you now fulfill your graduation requirements, I've had this mustache for 40 years. I'm going to gladly shave it. But that summer he didn't finish it again, so I was really angry with him. I said, don't come around here. I'm not going to tell anybody you ever played at Temple. I'm not going to be in your corner. I was thinking of anything I could do to motivate him. So the next summer he comes back, and I don't hear from him at all. He does work out around Philadelphia, but I don't see him or hear from him. And so finally, at the end of the summer, I get this text message from him, and it said, "Get your razor ready." I said, "Oh man," I opened my big mouth now, and I got to follow through. So that not long after that, we had a press conference, and he came to the press conference and filmed it with his iPad, and I said, you're making this about me. This is really about Deontay Christmas. And one of the things that's so important here is that he has graduated, and it's really a great accomplishment for him. He's a terrific guy, and he's going to, one of these days, be an NBA player. He had been overseas for a couple of years. And so with that year, he actually made the Phoenix Suns roster and stayed with them the whole year. And it was fulfilling in that regard that he made it to the NBA. That he made me shave my mustache, but most importantly, the thing that was most fulfilling is that he finished his graduation requirement, and I'm very proud of him, and terrific guy.
And he was the first in his family to graduate from college. So, I mean, it's just great story there. Really great story. Coach, we can't begin. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed shaving my mustache for that cause, and I haven't had it back since, but because somebody said you look younger and thinner, so I got no shot at getting it back again. So. Except for Movember. I've grown it back in Movember, which is a cause for prostate cancer, and so and I look like not that I'm a good-looking guy anyway. I got a face for radio, but I grow it in November, and it looks really ratty by the end of November, so I'm happy to get rid of it again.
Well, go with it when people give it to you. We can't thank you enough for the time. If people want to support what you're doing with Coaches versus Cancer, where can they get involved, give money, support your efforts?
Well, they can go on our website, coachesversuscancer.org, and all that information's on there. And we can't thank the Philadelphia community enough for getting behind us. And that's everybody. It's the grassroots people. It's the corporate community. It's so many folks who have gotten behind us and made Coaches versus Cancer, the Philly 6 Coaches versus Cancer, the best in the country. And so we're grateful for that. But and thank you guys for doing what you're doing and talking about us. We really appreciate it.
Thanks so much for the time, Coach. We wish you the best of luck going forward, and we'll talk to you soon. You have a great day.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Appreciate it.